Houston, you got a problem? Yo, we'll solve it. Check out The Hook while DJ revolves it.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, you can hire that band for a bar mitzvah or birthday party if you want to. Hey there, you're Locked On A's, and I am Wayne Coy, lifelong Oakland Athletics supporter and media personality. I do want to thank you for taking the time out today to make us your first listen and hang out with us here as we dive into all things Oakland A's. Definitely encourage you to be part of it all. We would like to get the two-way communication going. We have a comment section on YouTube. If you feel up to it, you want to leave a comment. If you got a question, a concern, something you want to see us cover on the show, or you just want to know all about, maybe we can dig in and get you the answers that you're looking for. All of that, of course, through YouTube and our comment section there. You can email us. You can hit us up on Twitter or X. Is anybody actually calling it X? I didn't think so. It's still Twitter to me. The main thing is we are talking A's baseball, and we know that's what you want to do. You want to talk A's? Well, we want to talk A's with you too. Believe me. Locked On A's is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, we are your team every single day, and if you listen every day, just let us know that you're an everydayer, and you can do that, of course, like I said, right down there and down there in the comment section. It'd be interesting today to see how many times we disappear completely off the screen, because I am wearing a green shirt and, the whole green screen thing. So we'll see how that goes. I do know this, whether we're on screen or not, we're going to talk about what happened, what went well and what didn't go well at all in Arlington over the weekend, a 3-game set with the Rangers. The A's, of course, continue their tour of the Lone Star State tonight. It will be the first of 3 against the Houston Astros, the dreaded Astros in Houston. And forget about Minute Maid, because it's Miller time. You see what I did there? All night I worked on that. Forget about Minute Maid. It's Miller time. Yeah, Mason Miller making the start for the A's. We're excited about that, of course. But we are going to temper our excitement, and we'll tell you why. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and once you've done that, use the code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off of your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, indeed guaranteed, and that's all waiting for you. So go check them out at Game Time, okay? Get the app and save. Now, the A's are playing the Texas Rangers. What about it? Well, let's dig in, first of all, to what happened over the weekend with the Rangers, because I think that, it sets it up to go play Houston if we talk about what just happened in the same state, right? State of confusion, more like it. After starting the series with a win, which was great, it was the right note to begin. 6-3 was the final score on Friday night. I don't know if you caught any of that game or not, but the A's got off to a good start and were able to put away the Rangers. Just all in all, a great job by the bullpen, and we'll talk about that. Then, of course, they lost a tight one, 3-2 on Saturday. And then yesterday it was the Marcus Semien show, 9-4. The A's lose to the Rangers. Now, with that loss, oh, surprise, surprise, the A's wrap up the second consecutive last place finish in the American League West. We told you going into the series, the magic number was 1. It didn't take long. They got there. So that's happening. We're going to finish last no matter what we do. What about the good stuff? Well, a lot of talk, of course, about Esty, and Mr. Ruiz did not disappoint. He goes 2 for 4 in Friday night's game, which was awesome. What was not so awesome is that he got nabbed not once but twice on the bases. Once an official caught stealing, the other time just victim of the bang-bang play at first base, pickoff move. That I got to tell you, I watched the replay, 5-6 times now, and here's the thing. The ball did get there before he did, but the tag didn't. His hand was on the bag before he got tagged. That's for sure. Referees, I was watching football yesterday. Referees. The umpires didn't see it that way. They called him out. So a couple of times he gets thrown out on the bases. We're sort of not used to that. But it is good to see him playing, of course. And it was really good to see both he and Lawrence Butler in the lineup at the same time. We had to wait until yesterday's game to see that. I still say, though, that they're playing in the wrong position. And again, Mr. Kotze, if you are listening, I think that not only are they in the wrong position, but they're in the wrong spot in the batting order. And I know, again, today, Ruiz is in the lineup, but he's batting ninth. He's a leadoff hitter. I'll say that over and over again till I'm blue in the face, Vita blue in the face. And Lawrence Butler, he was in the 6 hole, but I do believe he would suit our purposes better to be in the 4 or the 5. And then get him out of center field. He just doesn't have the range that Ruiz has. And Esty does not have the arm that the lawman has. So you want your right fielder to have a stronger arm. To me, that's just simple. I mean, an easy fix, and I'm not sure what it's going to take to be able to get him to make that move, but Kotz, let's go. We still got a little season left to do that. Pitching was, and of course is, the story in any series that the A's play. They have gotten better pitching in the second half than they did in the first, especially in September. Now, only 3 innings from their starter Friday, Paul Blackburn. Normally that would equal disaster if the bullpen has to get involved that early. But au contraire, that was not the case. Bullpen was actually stellar after Blackburn has to leave the game. We went through Lucas and Sweet and Urseg and Jimenez, and then, of course, Trevor May closes it out to get the save. 3 hits and 1 run over the last 6 innings. Very impressive by the bullpen, and an opportunity, like I said, for them to preserve a win. And that's the way you want to start the series. Now, of course, you'd have liked to have built on that momentum in the second game, and it was a tight one. Just didn't work out in our favor. Sean Newcomb gets the surprise start. You may have forgotten about this guy because a long, long time ago, he was a member of the Atlanta Braves system. And not only a member of their system, but was prospective, at least on paper, going to lead their pitching rotation back in 2017 and 2018. Then what happened was he forgot how to find home plate. Just a lot of control issues, and with that, of course, he's bounced around a little bit. Now, of course, he is getting another opportunity to shine. He's doing that for the A's, and shine he did. This guy's got a great fastball, tops out at about 95 miles an hour. His out pitch is a wicked curveball, especially if he's throwing it for strikes. And then he's got a changeup, which he kind of worked in and added as well. Pinpoint control, other than the first inning where he walked a couple of guys. After that, though, he was nails. And I was just a little upset when they took him out of the game. I mean, basically, he kept the Rangers completely quiet, and he did that. 4 innings of shutout baseball, retired 9 out of the last 11. There it is, 9-11. That's today. 9 of the last 11 that he faced. And unfortunately, Kyle Muller then came in and was pretty shaky in relief of Newcomb. Gave up 2 runs in 2 innings, and pretty much that was it. That's all that Texas needed. They win it by a score of 3-2. Control still a big issue for the A's overall. 7 walks in this game, and that's just too many, as we all know. Now, in the series finale, that was yesterday, it was vital that the A's would get a good pitching performance from a guy who we keep waiting on, on paper and again in everybody's mind. Luis Medina is the dealio, right? Not so much yesterday. 4 1/3 innings, and the right-hander walks 3, gives up 6 hits, 5 runs, and that's basically sealing it for the Rangers at that point. Okay? So what was the real secret to the Rangers' win yesterday? I got to tell you, it starts with Marcus, and it ends with Semien, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. Last October, I got to take you into my world. I was at Allegiant Stadium here in Las Vegas, where I live now. Of course, I'm from the Bay Area, but moved here in 2020, not to follow the Raiders, but it has worked out that they are indeed here. I'll withhold judgment on whether or not I believe the A's will end up here. I don't want them to. I want them to stay in Oakland. But that's beside the point. I'm there, Raiders. I do love them. And it was late in the season, last October. Raiders hosting the Chiefs. Big game. Couple of reasons. 1, it's the Chiefs. 2, Derek Carr benched at the end of the season, making way for Jared Stidham to get a start. So, of course, that's kind of a big deal. And again, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, always a big deal. So my buddy, Tommy T, comes in from the Bay Area, and he says, hey, we're going to go to the game. And I thought, all right, so glad he got tickets. Turns out he didn't get tickets. And we were literally freaking out because we're in the parking lot. He knew all along we didn't have tickets. I didn't know. I didn't find out till after we got out of the car, got parked, and we're standing in the parking lot. But thankfully, we hopped on the Game Time app, and we scored 2 great seats. There they were in the north end zone, surrounded by Raider fans, even though there were a lot of red jerseys in the stands that day. And you know what? Turned out to be a pretty good ball game. In fact, the Raiders almost pulled it out. Almost. Because, they're the Raiders after all. Buying tickets to your favorite event really should not be stressful. You don't want to go through what I went through. Game Time is what you need to go through, just like I did. It is the fast and easy way to buy a ticket, whether it's sports or music or comedy or theater. They got you covered. And killer flash deals, too. You never know when they're going to put some amazing tickets on sale. Just saw that over the weekend. Now, it turned out Ed Sheeran got canceled anyway, but tickets at the last minute, you were able to grab those for less than face value. The best price guarantee, you can't stop stressing over tickets. Yes, you can. You start getting hyped up because you're going to be able to save with the Game Time app. And I do love the fact that they give you the images of your seat view as well. So if you kind of want to know, well, what's it look like from the seat? You get a picture there. Lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, Ed Sheeran. Job loss protection, it happens. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time's got you covered all the way up to the day of the event. Snag your tickets and forget about the stress. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. That's the way to get going. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get that $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hey, we want to thank you, of course, for making Locked On A's your first listen every day, and we do appreciate that. If you're an everydayer, coming up on our next episode, we're going to get into what's happening with the Houston Astros. How do they go from being the worst team in our division to the best team and basically a bit of a juggernaut, right? They've been winning for a while. We're going to break that all down, see how we did in Game 1, get ready for Game 2, all of that, tomorrow's Locked On A's. Well, we promised you conversation about Marcus Semien, and I know we're going to get into that. It was indeed the Marcus show yesterday in every way, shape, and form. He showed the A's exactly why they screwed the pooch by allowing him to get away. I am just still really upset about the way that whole thing went down. Here's a guy who's from the East Bay, grew up loving the A's, started off being a defensive liability, turns into one of the better shortstops defensively in the American League. And, of course, the guy can rake. He's been hitting since the beginning. Went to Cal, all of that. So, with that in mind, how can you let him walk away? Well, you're John Fisher, you're Dave Kaval, you're the Oakland A's. It's what we do, right? Off goes Semien to sign a deal for somebody else when he had an opportunity to stay here and a hometown discount. He was offering the A's a chance to sign them for less than he eventually signed as a free agent. So needless to say, watching him play in another uniform just kind of eats me alive, makes me sick, especially when he does what he did yesterday. 4 for 5, in case you weren't looking, 2 home runs by Mr. Semien. Pretty much single-handedly wins the game against the A's. And you got to feel like, inside anyway, there's probably some satisfaction from him just to be able to say, see, this is what you could have, in fact, should have had. So we'll get over it, I guess, someday, right? But the idea of having Zach Geloff and Marcus Semien as our double play combination, can you imagine what that would be like? I know he's playing more second base now than shortstop, but I think had he stayed in Oakland, he would have played short. And, of course, Zach is just doing everything necessary at second base. He's the star of the future. So I would have loved to see them play together years to come. And don't get me started on Sean Murphy or Matt Olson. Anyway, one can dream or have a nightmare, depending on how you look at it. All right, so it's goodbye to Globe Life Field. So long. See you later, Arlington. Au revoir until 2024. Won't see you anymore. Now it is on to Houston and, of course, the Astros for a 3-game series. And that starts tonight. All eyes, these included, are on the A's starting pitcher. You might remember the name, Mason Miller. Remember back in May? We're like, wait a minute, we got an ace here. This guy pretty much striking out everybody he faces, just looked on fire, rushing through the minor leagues and making a name for himself until he couldn't. And we'll talk about Mr. Miller in just a minute. Right now, though, I got to tell you, the Major League Baseball playoffs are around the corner. What does that mean? Well, it means the clock is ticking. Tick, tick, tick. There goes your chance to 10 times, no, 20, no, 50, how about 100 times your cash? Yeah, you can do that with daily fantasy baseball, because baseball's never been more exciting than it is right now. Great players in this game, like Ronald Acuna, of course, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, even when he's injured, still somebody we want to talk about. And don't get me started on Marcus Semien. But anyway, you can pick more or less on stats. If you want to go off the board, you want to do stolen bases, you want to do caught stealings, you want to do strikeouts, whatever you're into putting your money on, you can do that for more than up to 100 times payout on Sleeper, Sleeper. That Sleeper gets your picks right, and you can win big. Use promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Hey, don't forget also that if you can't be at the ballpark, and that does happen, if you're away, maybe you're out of town on business, maybe you're stuck at the office, but you still want to hear the A's the way you ought to hear the A's, there's one way to do that. That, of course, is the SiriusXM app. You want to get that app because that's where you're going to find the hometown broadcast of the Oakland A's. Nobody better in the business than Ken Korak, and, of course, Vince Cotroneo, too. They're right there to bring you all the action. SXM, that's the app. Download it, and then just search Athletics and listen to the A's all season long. So, Mr. Miller, what's going on with him? Where are we now? Are we going to be able to maybe set the tone tonight in Houston as Mason Miller takes the mound? Well, first of all, before you get too excited, you do need to know this. He's going to be on a pitch count, and that's because, of course, his injury. Now, last time out, I think the total was somewhere around 50 pitches, and I wouldn't look for that to be any higher than that. 3 innings, probably tops, 50 pitches, and that's about all you're going to get from Mr. Miller, and that's, of course, because we want to be careful. We want to make sure that he doesn't get hurt, because that would just be horrible, okay? So we'll hopefully keep him healthy the rest of the year, give him enough work where he can sort of set the tone for next year. Last time, in case you missed it, it was a pretty nice start for Mr. Miller. He struck out 3 in a row. He struck out the side in his second inning of work, just doing everything that he needs to do to prove that he's the guy. Now he'll be pitching again tonight, and the guy that he's pitching against, well, you know him too, and unfortunately, it's one of those matchups. At least on paper, it could be a pitching duel, but the fact that we're only going to probably get 50 pitches out of Miller means it's going to be a bullpen game. But yeah, Framber Valdez, 2-0, 1.35 in his starts in Houston so far this year, in his last 3, And on paper, again, it looks good, but I got a feeling we're going to get into the pen pretty quick, and that might scare you because, well, those guys are gassed. They had a long weekend against the Rangers, except there might be one little secret sitting down there in the bullpen. You saw him come in on Friday night, part of the great relief effort that got Paul Blackburn off the hook, and this guy actually earned the win in the game. His name is Devin Sweet. Remember that name, Devin Sweet. He's somebody who, for the last 4 or 5 years, has shown a lot of potential. In fact, over his career so far, his strikeout-to-walk ratio is just amazing. So he's proven that he can do that. He just needs a place to shine. And I think, based on what we saw the other night, you may have found it. As far as his pitch assortment goes, well, he's got a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. He's got a wicked slider and what they call a Bugs Bunny changeup. Yeah, that one. Not quite an ephus pitch, but still, nonetheless, it's one of those where when you've seen 94 and then you see this on the changeup, very sloth-like, Devin Sweet, possibly. In fact, I'd almost put money down that he's going to enter the game tonight after Mason Miller reaches his limit, because that is going to happen. keep your eyes on him. It might just be what the doctor ordered for tonight. So where are we now and where are we going? Our record 44-97. So what does that mean? Well, that means if we want to end up exactly as bad as we ever have in Oakland, 54-108, worst season ever since the A's moved to Oakland in 1968. That was 1979. 10-11 the rest of the way to get there. Of course, anything worse than that is going to be worse than that. Duh. Now, if they go 11-10, they can get off the hook there. They won't tie the historical worst. And it's still horrible, but I think you have to look at it this way. As horrible as it is psychologically, it's not as bad. It just isn't, because what you're not doing is you're not going into the record books as even tied with the worst record since the A's have moved there. Hopefully, this is an aberration. We put it behind us and we grow from here. 2 last place finishes in a row. That's enough as far as I'm concerned. But some people believe, if you're going to go big, right? Get in the record books. If you're going to suck on an epic level. I'm just not into that. I know some people are, just not the way that I roll. But if you are, okay, let's see who gets their way. I know that I believe, anyway, we'd like to have some good to build on. Avoid the record book if we can. In this case, I think that would be great. So what do the A's have in store for us the rest of the way? They've got 21 games. This stretch does include the Houston Astros starting tonight. And then after that, it's home, just a short road trip, Arlington and Houston, that's it. Hopefully they can win 2 out of 3 in Houston. If they do that, they finish the roadie 3-3, 500. Nothing wrong with that. Then they come home, and if you look at strength of schedule, if that means anything to you, who are they playing? Well, they're playing a team that everybody picked to win their division or at least be very competitive. Bob Melvin's crew down there in San Diego, the Padres, come into town. They have not been the Padres we all expected in 2023. They are 10 games under 500. Their record right now, 67-77. Some would say they're just playing out the string at this point. Got to be very disappointing when you're in the same division as the Dodgers and you're not able to keep up pacing them with wins throughout the year. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see big changes coming for the Padres. Hopefully not Bo Mel. I think, it's not all on him. But something's definitely not right in San Diego. It's probably those City Connect uniforms. But Padres coming to town. So then after that, it's the Tigers. And what are they doing? Well, they are 11 games under 500, 66-77. So see what I'm saying? Those should be 2 pretty good series because you're playing teams that are kind of scuffing it just a little bit. And then, of course, it's the Seattle Mariners. As far as I'm concerned, that's kind of a key here because, well, it's the Mariners, and I don't know how long your memory is, but last year you may recall the Mariners pretty much owned the A's, and now they are fighting for their playoff lives. So what happens? Either the going gets tough and the tough get going, or the wheels have completely fallen off, and we might have something to do with that. They are still the only Major League Baseball team to never appear in a World Series. Could that continue? Well, it certainly could. After the way they dominated us last year, I would like nothing more than to see the A's play spoiler, see if they could step up and win that series against Seattle. That would be great. Love to do that. Anytime you can beat a team in your division, that's great. And, of course, these A's, with that opportunity, they can basically stick the dagger right in the heart of the Seattle Mariners, and that would be cool. I mean, you talk about something to build on. How about that, right? Of course, they have more season after that. They're going to play, like I said, Seattle, Detroit, but they do wrap up the homestand against the Mariners. Then they go on the road. They play the Twins and they play the Angels, and that's it. So they do have a chance to control their own destiny, to not equal those wretched A's of 1979, maybe just a little bit better, but still better is better. And I think we've seen enough from people like Zach Geloff, Esty Ruiz, Lawrence Butler, Mason Miller, even Trevor May, although he's probably gone during the offseason. But I think we've seen enough this year, enough highlights, although sparse, although few and far between, that we might actually have some hope going into the offseason, past the hopium. And that's going to wrap up this edition of Locked On A's. It's always a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being around. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. We do appreciate that especially. And don't forget to leave a message in the comments. I would love to know what you're thinking about the show, what you think we ought to talk about, if there are anything at all that you want to suggest, interviews, polls, just subject matter in general. Go ahead and leave it there. And then in the episodes to come, we'd be happy to get into it. In our next episode, Everydayers, it's the Astros. We got to find out, did we take care of them in Game 1? Will we take care of them in Game 2? How's the rest of the series looking? How'd Mason Miller do? All of those questions will be answered on our next episode. One thing is for sure, we will be Locked On A's. You can count on that every single day right here. My name is Wayne Coy. Thank you so much for your time today, and keep on swinging.